I always think about my family, even members of my family that I hardly ever see or that I haven't seen for a very long time. I think about everyone and I think about their life path, the decisions they've made, at least the things that I'm aware of. Because, of course, I'm closer with some family members than others. And I know a lot more about certain family members than others. But when it comes to any member of my family that I have known, not people that had passed on before I was born, but people that I have known, people that I have had some kind of a relationship with or exposure to. Um, when it comes to everyone, there has only been one individual that I look at as a true positive example for how we should all be, how I should be in my own life. And that would be my great grandmother. She passed away about 2 years ago. She was 97 years old. And again, I can only know so many details about an individual. I mean, I often imagine that people have secrets, or if not secrets, things about their character that maybe I never saw, or that I will never know because I wasn't there. Maybe there were dark moments in their life. But when it comes to her, um, and my experiences that I had with her, and not only that, but hearing what other people had to say about her while she was alive and also after she had passed, it just confirms what I feel about her and what I saw from her, what I saw in her, what I saw her do, and what I was told by others that she had done in her life. She was a true positive example for everyone, just how to be a good person. And this isn't about perfection. It's not about being a perfect person and not making any mistakes. Like I said, I'm sure, look, like we all make mistakes, and that's not what this is about. And this also isn't about, um, I'm not trying to say that everyone else in my family is not worth looking up to or something like that. That's not at all what it is. There are other positive examples in my life currently, and those who have passed on. Um, and there are bad examples. Most of us are a combination of that. When I look at myself and I imagine how others might view me, or when I look at others and I know what I feel about them, it's usually a combination. It's usually there's a lot of good things, there's positive lessons that they have possibly explicitly taught me with words and with showing me, like, here, this is the right way to do things. But more often it's been through actions. And also through actions, I've seen what not to do and I've learned what not to do from many people. But my great grandmother had a strength, this internal strength that was either it led to or it was a result of her faith in her spiritual beliefs. In her case, it was Catholicism. But really, it didn't need to be that. And that's not what it's about. Like, for me, it doesn't matter what the religion was. What I admire is that her faith never wavered. And again, I don't know what happens inside the privacy of one's own heart and soul and mind. But she lived, like she walked the walk. Um, She was positive. She was a positive person at all times, even when things were getting really uncomfortable and really bad. She had she maintained dignity the entire time. And rewinding earlier, when she was younger, when she wasn't in the process, really trapped in the process of death in the tail end of her life. Again, just a great example of what to be, to stay active, to use your brain, to use your mind. It's just to be a good person. And I have regrets. I have regrets about my relationship with her, and I probably, and this is just my own issues, but I didn't interact with her enough. I didn't go out of my way to visit her enough when I could have. It's like I could have been with her more. I could have, and more than that, I could have expressed to her how I felt. I could have told her that she was the number one positive example in my life, where most people had things that I could learn not to do. From everything I know about her and everything that I have seen in her, she didn't have that. She didn't have examples of, oh, this is how not to live your life and this is what not to do. She was like the one that I was looking at for how to be. I've seen a lot of people like lie, cheat, steal, succumb to addiction, all types of things, just human things. And there's nothing wrong with being human. A lot of us have issues, and we may live long enough to even find or develop new issues. Like, it's really complicated. But again, this is what I admired about my grandmother. She didn't show me any of that stuff. She didn't show any of us anything like that. She just held herself to this standard consistently and never wavered. Like I said, at least on the outside, I never saw any wavering from the goal or from the path that she was on. And she was always like a joy to be around, and you could feel the positive energy. And part of the reason that I admire that so much and that stands out to me is that I'm not really like that myself. I would love to be like that. I strive to be more like that. And if at the end of my life I end up being like half of the person that she was, that would be progress for me from where I've started or where I'm coming from now. For me, I've been on a good roll for a little while here, but historically it's pretty easy for me to slip into a dark place. Maybe easy isn't the right word, but I can find myself in dark places mentally and emotionally and spiritually, I guess, the disconnected spaces where I've let things slip and I'm now in this hole and I need to crawl my way out. And with each rep of crawling out, I get better at it and I learn my lesson more, and I learn not to get that deep in the hole. And I do see that I'm making progress. But she was someone that just stayed in the boat, stayed afloat on top of the water the whole time, and never fell in and never started sinking and started drowning and had to swim back to the top. She just stayed in the boat and kept rowing, from what I could tell. If she had any slip-ups, they must have been very minor and private, because I had never seen that with her. And it feels strange, it still feels strange that she's gone, because she lived a long life, 97 years, and she was always in my life. From the time I was born, she was there, just like everyone else. That's going to probably feel even more weird when my parents are gone, or anybody. Other people that have been in my life. But I feel so blessed to have even had the chance to know her, because I know people, many people. The more that I talk about, the more that I speak with people, just throughout time, I have more conversations with more people in life, and I learn that I know a lot of people who never even knew either one of their, or any of their grandparents, period, grandfather or grandmother on either side of their family. I know many people who they were all dead and gone before this individual was born. Or maybe they were still alive, but they only knew them until they were 5 years old and they died, or they lived in another state and they never got to see them other than special occasions. I got to spend a lot of quality time with my great grandmother. Also, both of my grandmothers are still alive, and I see them. I spend time, an incredible amount of time with them, because I don't take it for granted. This this fact that they are still here, and I still get to know them and learn from them and learn about them. And again, a person doesn't need to be this shining, like, star of an example, this angel on earth, as I tend to view my great grandmother. A person doesn't need to be that in order to learn from them. I learn from everyone, even people that are almost on the opposite side of the spectrum. Though I don't know anyone who's entirely on that side of the spectrum. I don't know anyone who I would entirely and absolutely label as a failure, for example. Um, but many of us have had failures, some of them more profound than others, and some of them with long-lasting consequences. But I see the good and the bad in us. And it doesn't even need to be my family. I'm speaking about my family because my great-grandmother is the reason that all of us are here. At least me and everyone that came before me. And I always was specifically, consciously aware of that when I was in her presence. Whether I was speaking to her or just observing her or listening. Just being in the space. That's not something that I forget. And that alone demands respect, or it made me want to respect her, but I respected her even more for being the person that she was. Because some people maybe, I've heard people speak about maybe their grandmother, and that person still is that. They still are responsible for your existence and the existence of your parents. Obviously, that's obvious. You are here because of them. But I've heard people talk about saying things like they didn't like their grandmother, that she was like rude and said things out of pocket all the time and had no filter and was kind of, I guess they found it offensive. But when it comes to stuff like that, I think that's really minor, and you have to, or what I always tend to do, or I try to do, though there are exceptions and I struggle with this probably with some individuals more than others. I try to look past all of that stuff and just look at the facts and recognize that I owe a lot to this person. And I feel that I can comfortably say that because I have been very lucky or blessed, or however you would like to say it. I've been blessed that I have not been abused in any real way, in any grave way, by any family members. Because again, through conversation, I have learned of many people who maybe their parents, or one single parent, or one single grandparent, or some individual in the family was profoundly abusive. Physically, sexually, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is. And I can't speak on that, because for me to tell somebody who was sort of dramatically abused by someone that, oh, you should recognize them as a blessing in your life and that you wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for them and you owe them something. Those ideas, I have floated those ideas, I'm not saying it directly to the person, but I've floated those ideas in conversations when someone was a relative of an elder who had abused them, more like an emotional and mental situation. But it's clear to me that I can't understand that. And I can't act like I can understand that, or like I know how to heal that sort of trauma. Because I've just been very blessed that has not been a part of my experience. My family largely has been supportive almost entirely. I mean, certainly not abusive. And I feel grateful for that every time that I acknowledge it. I want to say every day, but I think there are days when I forget. There are times when I don't acknowledge these things that I should, things that I am truly grateful for, but I guess I forget or I get distracted. But I've been so lucky to have such supportive family and to have someone like my great grandmother as sort of like the head of, like, the longest living relative that I have seen live and die, that had a strong impact on me in such a positive way. Like, none of it was, again, just to reiterate, none of it was, oh, she did this and that's, I learned not to do that because I saw how that messed her up. She was just on point and on track. And like I said, kept the ball rolling, kept the show moving, didn't really stop, like just lived her life. And it's just about strength for me. It's about like mental strength and emotional strength when I think about her. And they both seem like they come from her spiritual faith, or at least in some way the spiritual faith is tied into that, because she never strayed from that. She was like, diligent with the pursuit of whatever that is. She maintained her faith until the end. I can't describe how much I admire that, because most of us, we're not even near the end, or we might not think we are, or whatever. We're just, you could be young and living life and find yourself in this unmotivated, depressed state, and it's really all your own doing. When it's all said and done, it's just things you're not doing to keep the ball rolling and to keep the momentum moving and to live your life and to go out and interact and do things and be a real person and live and just do the right thing. There is right and wrong in this world, and I think that's one thing that when I think about my great grandmother, she lived correctly. She actually lived correctly, and there could be multiple ways of defining that, but certainly her life and how I view her, that fits into the correct category. If there are incorrect and correct ways to live, I will always think of her that way. And I think about her all the time, still, and how she might judge me, what she might think of me for decisions that I make. Yeah, I just feel that while she was alive, I didn't express this to her. I don't believe she knew at all how I felt about her, that she was the person I was looking at for how to be. And I don't think I impressed her. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I made her proud. I don't know what she felt inside. If maybe she was just proud to have a great grandchild, but I don't think it works like that. Like, I didn't, as far as life goes, and just the path that I have been on, and probably what she had seen from me, it's like I want to make her proud even though she's not here anymore. That's how I feel. And I've never really felt that way, or I don't feel that way about other people. Not like this. If I do, it's not like this. It's not this strong as it is with her. And that maybe, sometimes I find myself thinking about people, ancestors whose names I don't even know, ancestors from the distant past. And I think all of them would not be impressed by how all of us are living for the most part, though there are some of us, myself, I would not include. I think about just the lifestyle. and the amount of hard work that people did in the past in order to survive, and how easy we have it now, and how comfortable life is for all of us, for most of us. Probably if you have a smartphone or a computer and you're watching this, it's probably okay, or it should be okay, if you have access to things like this. It's just very comfortable now. It's very, we are weaker people, and we seem to be growing increasingly more weak with each generation. Supposedly, and I can imagine how that might flip once our external reality gets messed up enough because of our own weakness, and it'll flip and create hard people again. But um, yeah, I think about, like I said, I imagine people that I never knew, ancestors from deep in the past, and they would be ashamed of me. They would be ashamed of everyone that I know in my family. Like, this is how you live? This is what you are now? But the only living example I had of that was my grandmother. She was much closer to where we are in reality, in space and time. But I still think about that like, I want to impress her, even though she's gone. And impress isn't the right word, because it's not like this ego thing, like, and I don't need the adoration. I just want her to be proud of what I am, because I respect who she is and who she was so much. Like I said, I've never known anyone like that. She had a very strong impression on me that lasts and probably will last forever. I actually don't know exactly why I wanted to make a video like this and put it on YouTube, but I did have the urge to do so. I just wanted to, I guess, speak on this. I think that's all I have to say for now. So leave a comment if you've got anything to share. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever you feel like doing. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you next time.